Hi everyone, I'm Amanda Fogg, and this is for our Unit 5 interactive assessment for our psychology course. Um, the chapter that really stuck out to me was in chapter 12 in regards to personality, and on page 344, it's in regards to Carl Rogers' person-centered perspective. So I really enjoyed reading about personality in general and all the different views and kind of how it's changed over time. Um, but I think his was my most favorite just because it seemed really like positive and uplifting, and I feel like I was able to really apply it to like my life. Um, but so starting off, he was saying how um, he's he believes basically that humans are basically good, and I really liked his comparison to plants. He says here, um, like plants, we are primed to reach our potential if we are given a growth-promoting environment. So I love plants, and I definitely think one of my like positive traits is I have a green thumb. So um, I just really liked that comparison there. But and I definitely agree with it too. I think your surroundings have a big impact and influence, and those around you. And if you've ever heard of those, they've done studies where they take, the same plant, and in one box, I know they did it at like a university, but in one box they put, um, or they had people say like mean things to the plants and just like, be really negative towards it versus the same type of plant in a different box. You could only say nice things, and over time you actually saw that the one that was given all that negative energy, it was actually dying versus the one that, was flourishing and, doing just fine, and they had completely the same environments and everything else was the same except, that negative reinforcement, or whatever compared to the positive one. Um, so just going into kind of what he was talking about, his three main points were, acceptance and having that unconditional love, which I think is super important and not always practiced, I feel like, especially in our society. I know, going through high school and growing up, I dealt with it sometimes, but a lot of my peers as well, that, they would be so scared of their parents, if they got a bad grade or like were interested in a sport that they invested in. And that's like a genuine fear. And instead of, feeling that, your parents are going to love you unconditionally and you can just go and talk to them, I feel like it's more common to be scared and like fearful. And be worried that, you're going to get in trouble or they're not going to love you if you don't have like a good grade, um, which is really stressful, especially for, being younger. And I don't think that's something that you should ever have to worry about. So it was just, I enjoy reading all of this because, like everybody knows, I do have my own daughter, and it's just nice to just be reminded of these things and how like critically important they are, especially, as she's growing up, and just remembering to always make her feel heard and valued and everything. And I also kind of wanted to touch on the genuineness. I feel like um, because of social media, there's like such a, like, you have to have such a high standard for yourself, and you only show people the good. And I mean, not in every case. I feel like there's, a lot of situations where people are open about like the struggles, and like that brings people together. But in a lot of other instances, or like with influencers or whatever, I feel like they're only showing you the good. And I feel like that can um, that's like a hard standard to have, especially for like your everyday life. So um, just being genuine and having those people in your life that you can be genuine with is really important, and know that like you'll be loved just as you are. And then lastly, he's talking about empathy, which I think is super important, of course. But it is true. I feel like everyone's always in a rush, and not always are you listening to listen, but you're listening to respond. You're just waiting for your moment to say something instead of just like taking it all in and really absorbing how they're feeling and like how they're thinking. Um, and then having a discussion based on that instead of like projecting your own experiences, I guess, which isn't always a bad thing because, a lot of times people relate to each other that way. But at the same time, when someone's confiding in you, I think it's important to take a step back and just focus on their situation and how they're feeling. Um, and then I highlighted the quote that he had at the bottom because I really enjoyed it. But he's saying, um, the curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I could change. I really like that, and I feel like I want to write it down. But it's true, if you um, aren't really in touch with who you are and okay with who you are, how are you going to make any sort of progress when it's like, you're not in your like you're not in reality or in touch with your feelings, so nothing can change from that. So I really liked that. And then I kind of just wanted to end with or with the question they have at the end: in your everyday life, just thinking back to a conversation where you knew that person was just waiting to speak versus a conversation you had where you felt the empathy. So not that long ago, I was on the phone with someone, and I could maybe get just like a few words out every 5 minutes. And I had even said, it's hard to have a conversation with you when, I can't talk to you. And it just made me feel super crappy. And like I still think about it, like it didn't happen that long ago, but it's something that like it sticks with you and it makes you feel really undervalued, and just makes you feel really crappy about yourself because you're feeling like what you have to say isn't important. And especially when they talk over you, like that's the worst. I feel like when you're starting to say something and they cut you off and they continue on and they don't let you get any words in, and it definitely like lingers and doesn't feel good. But versus, like for me, talking to my mom is the best because she'll just sit and listen to me and I can go on and vent. But after a conversation like that, it does feel really good and fulfilling, to just get everything out and know that the person you're talking to loves you regardless how you say it or what you say. But they're really just there for you. So I really enjoyed this section, and Carl Rogers too. He looks like a really nice guy. So yeah, but I enjoyed reading this. I hope that you guys all had a good week, and I guess this is our last video that we're doing. So yeah, goodbye everybody and best of luck.